The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Here's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove Football Show. It is time to preview the NFC South. That's right, Falcons, Saints, Panthers, Bucks, breaking it all down. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove Football Show. Welcome into an all-new edition of the Sports Stove Football Show presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com and use the promo code SPORTSSTOVE. Nope, just kidding. Stove15. Stove15, that's STOVE15. You're going to get 15% off your purchase. Welcome into a new episode. Typically, I am joined by my dad, Dale Stover, due to unforeseen circumstances, unable to make it tonight. And so for the first time in a really long time, we're doing a solo pod. I haven't been alone for quite some time. So we'll try to hold your interest in this one and break down the NFC South. We've been going through all of the NFL conferences, and we've only got a couple more to go. So if you've missed past episodes, make sure you go to wherever you get your podcast, the Sports Stove Football Show, and you can listen to the episodes there, or you can always go to the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel, and there you will find all the past episodes of the Sports Stove Football Show, and you can check out what we did with the AFC West, what we've done with the NFC East, the NFC North, the AFC South, and now we are here to the NFC South as well, looking at the Falcons, Panthers, Saints, and Buccaneers. With each of these teams, I'm going to give you a breakout player. I'm going to give you a make or break player. Then we'll look at some depth chart battles before getting into win totals and floor and ceiling for each and every team. So if you're ready, let's dive right in. And we're going to start things off with the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons this year, there's a lot of intrigue about this team. Michael Penix Jr. in at quarterback. Will he be what he needs to be? They decided to go with a first-round pick on him last year and played very little last season. He did get a few snaps in, I think 3 games, something to that effect in there as well. And so with that comes this expectation. Young talent, Bijan Robinson, of course, being there, Drake London being there. Kyle Pitts still is yet to develop into what everyone thought he would be. He's there also. So this team, this staff, everything about the Atlanta Falcons in a division that's fairly weak, they need to step up this year. They need to be that team that we expected that they could be. So let's jump right into them. Atlanta Falcons breakout player this season. I'm just going to go with the quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. He's going to be the full-time starter. He does have Kirk Cousins currently still as his backup. And I think from what we know about Kirk Cousins, I think he's going to be a really good backup. I think he's going to be very helpful to Michael Penix. And if he does not get traded, which he very well may, but if he does not get traded, I think it's going to be a really positive thing for Michael Penix Jr. to have him back there. I think it was positive for him last year to watch him and learn from him a little bit as well. So this season, what can we expect from Michael Penix Jr.? Well, he's got guys that can make plays, right? Bijan Robinson and Drake London being the main ones. There are some question marks after that. Kyle Pitts, a massive question mark. Darnell Mooney, he's been good, but good's not good enough. Oftentimes, Ray McLeod has been okay, but does that get you excited? The one thing that Atlanta did not do was take care of the things on offense that could have helped Michael Penix even more. All of their offensive line is, for the exception of one of the guards, Matthew Bergeron, they've all been around a little while, which can be good, but also older offensive linemen move a little slower. So how will all that play out? We'll see. But I think Michael Penix Jr., if you're looking at a breakout player for Atlanta this season, it has to be Michael Penix Jr., right? I mean, you could go on the defensive side and maybe pick someone off over there, but ultimately, I think it's going to be Michael Penix. I think he has quite the season. I don't know that he gets the 4,000 yards, but if you get me in the 36 to 3,800 yard range, I think that's good. Let's get mid-20s on touchdowns, and let's keep the picks under 10. I think would be a really good season for Michael Penix in his first year as the starter. So that's what I'm going with for the breakout player for Atlanta's Michael Penix. Now, the make or break player, no question, it has to be Kyle Pitts. This is a guy who, if he does not perform this year, what is he? What's the rest of his career? What does it look like for him going forward in his career? Kyle Pitts has, as a fantasy football person, you can tune in every Tuesday to the Belly Up Sports Fantasy Football Show, for our Belly Up Fantasy Live Football Show. I'm there every Tuesday. As a fantasy guy, we've written off Kyle Pitts. We've said, now, if you've had him on your roster, you're not putting him back on your roster again. If you've never had him, you may still be intrigued by him. But listen, in real football, Atlanta needs Kyle Pitts to be who they drafted him to be. And I don't see that happening. And if this year he can't perform as tight end one, being a tight end one in the NFL, someone might sign him if he gets released, or someone might be willing to trade for him. But ultimately, this is kind of it for him. He needs to, this is a make or break year for Kyle Pitts. So there you go. Kyle Pitts, the make or break player for Atlanta. Depth chart battles. I think the most intriguing thing to watch is the edge rushers. And it's not your traditional depth chart battle as far as, is this guy gonna win the starting job? And then if he doesn't, what's his playing time going to be? No, I think it's going to be pretty well a balance here. But you've got Leonard Floyd, who they brought in this offseason. You've got Jalen Walker, who they drafted in the first round. And you've got James Pierce, who they drafted in the first round. Now, Jalen Walker, he could move around. We might see him some on the inside as well, which I think helps in this situation. But those three guys, how will they manage the playing time? Who will step up and be the guy edge and edge rusher? It feels like we've talked about every year with Atlanta over the past 5 years, maybe. We're talking about pass rush. Who's going to step up and be that pass rusher for them? They make some other moves in free agency this year. They bring in Morgan Fox from the Chargers on the defensive line, Devin Diablo on the at linebacker in the middle from Las Vegas. Jordan Fuller comes over from Carolina at the safety position, and then Mike Ford comes over as well at the cornerback position. Then in the draft, they bring in Jalen Walker. They bring in James Pierce. They bring in Xavier Watts at safety. They bring in Billy Bowman as safety / corner as well. So they put a lot of attention into this defense in the offseason. So when you look at depth chart battles, cornerback's probably a fair one to look at as well. But I think for the Falcons, it's a little different of a depth chart battle. You're not looking at this intense who's going to win, who's going to lose. You're seeing more of how are they going to figure out the snaps with these guys. And I'm really excited about Jalen Walker and James Pierce. I think those are awesome draft picks for Atlanta. And hopefully, if their defense can pick it up a bit, that'll help their offense, of course, out as well. Offensively speaking, though, I go back to it when we're talking about win totals. Atlanta's win totals at 7.5 for this season. And when you look at this offense outside of London and Bijan Robinson, there's a lot of just who's going to be that guy, who's going to step up. Kyle Pitts, after him, they really don't have anybody behind them that you expect to step up. Wide receivers, we already talked about Mooney and McLeod. Casey Washington, what? No, a 6th-round pick last season? Yeah, okay. Kadero Hodge, whatever. Jamal Agnew, they brought over in free agency. Seriously, you couldn't find more pieces, and maybe they still will. Maybe we get through camp, we get through preseason, there's some cuts or even trades that take place that will boost this team up a little bit. But they're going to have to find some offensive help from there. I've got their ceiling at 7 wins, and at 7.5 being their total, or excuse me, their floor. I got their floor at 7 wins. So I'm kind of right there, I guess, with them. I think their ceiling is 10, and that would be amazing. That means Penix is what he's supposed to be. That means someone on offense outside of Drake London and Bijan Robinson has stepped up and performed as well. So I've got them around that 7.5 range. 7 to 8 wins is my expectation, but I think their ceiling is 10 wins. I've got their floor at 7, and I think there's other people that I know have them lower than that. 5 wins, maybe something to that effect. I just don't see them there this season. I think this is a sneaky team for the division. I think that if you're a gambler, and I am not, but if you're a gambler, maybe you look at this team and go, you know what, maybe throw a few pennies on Atlanta to win the division, because there's enough here that makes you go, and a bad division that makes you go, hey, maybe there's a shot here. Atlanta is the Washington Commanders of this 2025 NFL season. A little bit of surprise, I guess, is where I'm getting at there. That's the Atlanta Falcons. All right, let's head over a little east to the Carolina Panthers now, and Bryce Young and the coaching staff in year 2 together. Now, what will that look like? Will it be better? Will it be worse? They brought in some additions as well On the offensive side of the ball, they draft Tet McMillan early in the first round. They also bring in Jimmy Horn Jr., who a 6th-round pick, but a lot of talk about him coming into this preseason timeframe camp and things of that nature. On the defensive side of the ball, they brought in some draft picks there too. Nick Skirton, Princely Malin come in as edge rushers, but they also spent money on free agency. They bring in Tershawn Wharton. They bring in Patrick Jones. They bring in Christian Roseboom and Trevon Morig, who could all be starters this season for them. They need Bobby Brown to be healthy. They need Derek Brown to be elite. But there is some potential in Carolina. But let's start things with Carolina with the breakout player. And I'm all in on Jatavian Sanders this year, the tight end. He was a 4th-round draft pick last year. I really thought Carolina might be able to upgrade tight end in the draft this year. They chose not to do that. They did take a 5th-round pick of Mitchell Evans this year, but Tommy Tremble and Jatavian Sanders are the two guys. Tremble's not super healthy. I think Jatavian Sanders has a huge opportunity with having Tet McMillan, with having Xavier Legette, with having Adam Thielen, as the defense has to at least pay attention out there. It opens up the middle. It opens up opportunity for Sanders. I am 100% in young quarterback and tight end pairings. The tight end is so important to young quarterbacks. Now, Bryce Young is in year 3, and he does have some camaraderie there with Jatavian Sanders as well. So I think Sanders is your breakout player for Carolina this season. Now, when you go to make or break player, I think we have to look at Bryce Young, don't we? He got better last year, but he needs to be so much better than he was last season. And so for me, it's a make or break for him. If he doesn't do well this year, listen, this draft coming up in 2026 and the 2027 quarterback draft are going to be rich, filthy rich with quarterbacks. And if you're looking at Carolina, you're also looking at Lenore Sanders from South Carolina, so a local kid, right? So if Bryce Young cannot be point blank, clear as day QB1 in Carolina this season, he's gone. They're moving on. They're going on with somebody else after this. So it's a make or break year for Bryce Young. And by the way, I've been doing a ton of work on the 2026 draft here this week, and the quarterback class, we've already talked about it before, but it is loaded. There's a lot of good talent. So even if you're sitting at pick 8 like they were this year, or even maybe let's say pick 12, you still have the potential to get a quarterback upgrade. Bryce Young has the talent. He's yet to be able to put it all together in the NFL. Maybe this year's the year, but it's a make or break year for Bryce Young. Depth chart battles, we're going to the defensive side of the ball for this one as well. And it goes back to the edge. They got 4 edge rushers. Like I said, Patrick Jones came in from Minnesota. They also have DJ Wonnum, and then they had the 2 guys they drafted in Skirton and Princely Malin. And so who's going to win these jobs? They need the rookies to. They need the rookies to be 2nd-round talent, 3rd-round talent that come in and just play a whole bunch of snaps and play it successfully. That would be great. Patrick Jones is good, not great. And I really think that the rookies need to win these 2 positions. Will they? That's a whole nother question. So I think edge is the really important depth chart battle here for Carolina. Now let's go to win totals. Carolina's win total is at 6.5 for this coming season. And again, it's kind of where I've got them at. I've got their floor at 5 wins and their ceiling at 8 wins for this coming season. If they get to 8 wins, quite honestly, I'll be surprised. If they get to 8 wins, they're probably looking at extensions for quarterback and extensions for coach. Like it means things worked for them this year. I see them more in that 5 to 6 win range. So I would go under 6.5 on the win total. I just really think that we're going to see Carolina drafting a new quarterback next season. And it might not even be solely because of Bryce Young. It could be a coaching situation. It could be a lack of talent around them, even on the offensive line. Right now, they've got Ikem Ekwonu at left tackle, 1st-round pick in 2022. They got Damian Lewis at guard, Austin Corbett or Cade Mays at center, Robert Hunt at right guard, and Taylor Moton at right tackle. They need upgrades. Really, that right side of the line really needs upgrades. So it might not be all Bryce Young's fault, but I just don't think that they're going to do that good this season. But again, it's a weak division, and that can go a long way. If you can sweep the Saints, And if you can split with Carolina and the Bucs, now you're talking about that's 4 wins right there. Now you're looking at some potential, but I'm just not a full believer yet in the Panthers. Ted McMillan, I thought it was a reach. I'm not a Ted McMillan guy, and if I'm proven wrong, I've got no problem with that. Xavier Legette, he had his moments last year. Now you got 2 big young receivers with a young quarterback. They need to succeed this season, or we could be looking at Lenore Sellers next year, out of South Carolina as the new QB1. Or how about Cade Klubnick, right? He's right down the road too in Clemson. So could be a quarterback change in Carolina coming next season. All right, let's go now to the New Orleans Saints. And listen, he's going to talk about an offseason that has some hope, yes, but ultimately it seems like New Orleans just kind of punted this offseason and just said, we'll play the season out, but we're playing for next season or the year after still. From there, I don't know about that. We'll see for sure, I suppose. But they bring in Kellen Moore as the head coach, and that is where the hope lies, right? And not only do they bring in Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator, they bring in a guy named Doug Nussmeier. Does that name sound familiar? Yes, it does. Very much so, because there's a quarterback in college that'll be in the draft next season, Garrett Nussmeier. So Brandon Staley's the defensive coordinator as well. The defense is older. They just had a retirement, with Tyrann Mathieu this week. The offense is, man, I don't like it. Take it or leave it. I don't like it. I'm against it as the moment. But let's start with the breakout player. Breakout player this year, I've got Kendre Miller, the running back. He sits behind Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara was a 3rd-round pick in 2017. And I love Alvin Kamara. I think he's a fun player to watch, super talented, but I just think his days are numbered in New Orleans. This might be his last fully effective year. We will see. They draft Devin Neal in the 6th round, who I really like, but Kendre Miller, backup last season, a 3rd-round pick in 2023. I think you're going to see him emerge, maybe not as RB1, but maybe a 60-40 split, him getting 40% of the carries with Alvin Kamara this year as well. And so I've got him as the breakout. I think he's going to have a decent year there at running back. And I think you can also keep an eye on Kool-Aid McKinstry's last year pick out of Alabama at cornerback. Opportunity there arises for him to have a really good season and breakout there as well. Make or break player this year for New Orleans. I got Chris Olave. Injuries are a big deal. Concussions, major concussion problems with Chris Olave. Is he ever going to be able to bounce back? Is he ever going to be back to what he was? Now, again, who's throwing him the football? You got Tyler Shuck. Some of you like Tyler Shuck. I do not. You got Spencer Rattler. I like Spencer Rattler as a backup. But are either of those guys going to be able to help Olave out? Is Olave going to be able to lift them up? I don't know. The wide receiver group is not bad in New Orleans. Brandon Cooks is there. He's a veteran, of course. Rashid Shaheed is there, who has had some really, really good moments as well. But Chris Olave is the key here. If he cannot have a season as wide receiver 1, if he cannot emerge again as a clear cut, I mean, we were talking about him, right up there, Garrett Wilson in that range, talking about clear cut wide receiver 1, but just he's got to stay on the field. And I feel for him. It's not his fault, but this is a big year for Chris Olave's career. When you go to the depth chart battle, again, we have to focus at quarterback. Tyler Shuck, the 2nd-round pick. Spencer Rattler, the 5th-round pick in 2024, who played last season. There's rumors that people in the building really like Spencer Rattler. But again, if he's your QB1, what are you saying? I mean, anyways, Tyler Shuck, older, yet a rookie. Lots of experience in college football. I'm not saying he's bad, but is he enough for New Orleans Saints? I don't think that he is. Either way, he's got to be better than Spencer Rattler to win the job. And so we'll see how that one shakes out there. I think offensive line's a good one to watch, too. They bring in a couple of guys. Dylan Radunz from Tennessee and Will Clapp came in as well. They drafted Kelvin Banks. He should be their starting left tackle. I would assume he'll win that job. Cesar Ruiz, who's been around, Tyrese Fuaga, who was 1st-round pick in 24, Eric McCoy, and Trevor Penning, a 1st-round pick in 2022. So they got some depth, I think, at offensive line. We'll see if it's enough, again, to help out the situations there. I don't love their tight end position. Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, Taysom Hill. Moreau and Hill are both injured. Juwan Johnson's fine, but again, he's just not that elite tight end that we're seeing coming into the leagues right now as well. Defensively, again, you got some age there with Cam Jordan for sure. Chase Young, I like him. He re-signed. Kind of an odd situation there. You had the retirement at safety, so Julian Blackmon comes in from Indianapolis. Justin Reed comes in from Kansas City. Isaac Yiadom comes in from San Francisco. And then they got two young guys back there in Kool-Aid McKinstry and Alante Taylor as well. So they've got some young guys, some old guys. They've got some talent. They've got, I think, a good defensive coordinator in Brandon Staley. I like that hire. I have some cohorts at Belly Up that don't necessarily love that hire. I do. I think it's a good hire overall from there. But you look at the win totals for New Orleans, 5.5 is where their win total is at, and I think that's perfect. I'd go under that. But I've got their floor at 3 wins and their ceiling at 5 wins. I think this is a really rough season in New Orleans. And I think, again, if they maybe the make or break player should have been Tyler Shuck, because if they go 3 wins and they're sitting at pick number 1, they're going quarterback. If they're sitting in the top 3 picks, they're going quarterback because there's going to be quarterbacks to take. And again, they've got a local kid. They've got a coach's kid that's going to be in the draft next year. There's a lot of potential there as well. I like the Kellen Moore hire. I just don't know what he can do with what he's got this season. So we'll see how that shakes down. I'm really, really low on New Orleans this season. That brings us to our final team in the NFC South, and that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is a team. This is I don't know how to explain it. I guess I feel like it's just constantly a team that just they're almost like the Tampa Bay Rays in baseball. You look at them and you're not super impressed, but then the end of the year comes and you're like, wow, they had a really good year. And so Tampa's kind of that for me. I have been on the Baker train for quite some time. But there's some aging things happening in Tampa this year as well. So let's start with the breakout player in Tampa. I'm going wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka, the rookie first-round pick out of Ohio State. He was my top-rated receiver on my draft board this season, and I had him over Tet. I had him over Matthew Golden, and I love what he does. I love what he's done consistently in college. I think he has a ton of talent, and now he comes in, he gets to be paired with some really good wide receivers in Evans and Chris Godwin, and even Jalen McMillan, who I really like as well. Sterling Shepard, by the way, is there too, another veteran presence, and Trey Palmer's not that bad either. So they got some depth there. I think having the other weapons around him, including Bucky Irving in the backfield, and even Cade Otton at tight end, I think that's enough that gives Egbuka a chance to really perform incredibly well as a rookie. And I think he's going to have maybe even rookie of the year level season here this year. I think running back is going to tend to get, or quarterback is going to tend to get that award over a receiver, but I think he's going to have a really, really good season. Make or break player sits right at the same. Chris Godwin is the guy that I have here as well. He's been injury prone now for the last several years. You've got the other veteran, Mike Evans, there. You've got 2 young, really good receivers in Jalen McMillan and Emeka Egbuka. In that situation, I think this is a make or break year for Chris Godwin. I see him, if he can't perform back to top level wide receiver talent this year, I see him setting up his career a lot like Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk is good. He's productive, but he's kind of floating around every year or two to a new team. And Godwin's going to find himself in that situation if he can't have that consistency this year, stay on the field consistently this year as well. So he's my make or break player this season. Depth chart battle for Tampa. I go to the defensive side of the ball for this one, and that is cornerback. And they need someone to really step up here at cornerback this year. They got Yaya Diaby, third-round pick in 2023. Jamel Dean, a third-round pick in 2019. And they drafted in the second round this year Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame. And they had a second-round pick last year, Chris Braswell as well. So those 4 guys are going to fill 2 spots, maybe 3. We're probably going to see someone else in the nickel spot. So those guys got to win out. Cornerback is a position you want someone to take the clear lead in. And I think Benjamin Morrison has that talent. He was injured in college as well, so you want to make sure he's fully healthy and ready to go. great size on him as well. So I really like Morrison. I'd like to see him win a job this year. But cornerback will be the one you got to watch for in camp and things of that nature for Tampa. Now, in the offseason, really not a ton of additions for this team as far as guys that are going to be impactful. Hassan Reddick was probably the big one at edge. Outside of him, you're not going to see free agents have a big effect on this team. They brought in Charlie Heck, a tackle out of San Francisco, offensive tackle. Tristan Wirfs injured, so has he ready to go? And if not, then maybe you see Heck get some playing time there. Hassan Reddick, of course, as well. Outside of that, you're looking at some draft picks maybe, but not a whole lot of, well, actually, no free agents having a big effect on Tampa. So a lot of the same guys from last year. How does that carry over? Well, the win total for Tampa is 9.5 wins. And that's, again, about where I have them at. I've got their floor at 8 wins. I've got their ceiling at 11 wins. And I think this is a team that has potential to, again, win the division, to be a playoff team. They've got offensive weapons. They've got a solid defense. I'm a little worried about their defensive backs. I love Antoine Winfield, but the other guys back there don't inspire a lot in me. Defensive line is solid. Linebackers are good. So we'll see how that goes. Offensively, again, they got a great mix of veterans and young guys to go in there. Todd Bowles maybe he's the make or break guy this year in Tampa too. He needs a good year in Tampa again because they've been good, but not great. And you need to see them try to take that next step forward this year. So again, I got their floor at 8 wins, their ceiling at 11 wins there. When you look at the total division, the way I see it breaking down, I've got Tampa finishing first, Atlanta second, Carolina third, and New Orleans fourth in the division. And so when I see it breaking down that way, I think Tampa is clear cut going into the season, the best team. But I think Atlanta is that team that maybe could sneak up and surprise some people and do some things this year that we don't anticipate Atlanta doing just yet. Carolina would be a huge surprise to me if they're in the fight for the division lead. And if they are, that means they're having a good year. And it also means that probably Tampa's having a bad year. And New Orleans, I'm counting them out. And again, I'll come and apologize to all Tampa fans, all New Orleans fans, if I'm wrong at the end of the year. So that's the NFC South. And again, we've done several other of the divisions already this year. You can find those at the Sports Stove Football Show podcast or on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel as well. Before we sign out tonight, I want to go to the NFL draft, 2026 NFL draft. Like I said, I've been doing a ton of work. I've got 110 players on my big board right now, and I've been running through them. Player number 1 on my big board right now is TJ Parker out of Clemson, the 6'3", 265 edge rusher. Just expect big things from him this season. Last year, he had 11 sacks and 6 forced fumbles on 57 tackles, and expect to see that number go up as well. When you look at quarterbacks, I've got Cade Klubnick as number 1 on my board, with Lenore Sellers 2, and I had Sam Levitt jump up to number 3. Originally, he was down at number 5 for me at the quarterback position. I've got him up to number 3 right now, jumping Garrett Nussmeier and Drew Aller. I really like Nussmeier. I think there's a lot of potential for him this season, but Levitt's really standing out to me right now in this process. So I've got Klubnick at 1, Sellers 2, Levitt at 3, Nussmeier 4, Aller 5. All of them first-round graded quarterbacks in my estimation. At the running back level, Jeremiah Love's the only first-round running back that I have out of Notre Dame, speedster. He's got all kinds of talent. They are over 1,100 yards last season. I like both of the guys from Penn State, Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, and I expect them to continue, both of them over 1,000 yards last season, and I expect them to be back in that similar number. And then watch Mekhi Hughes this season, the running back. He is playing for Oregon this year, previously from Tulane, at 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns rushing at Tulane last year. He's going to be dynamic out there in Oregon. I think you're really going to like him. Wide receivers, kind of a wait-and-see approach, but the 2 guys I really like at wide receiver, another Clemson guy, Antonio Williams, 5'11", 190, last year 75 catches, 904 yards, and 11 touchdowns, averaging 12.1 a catch. And so I really like him as wide receiver 1. And then Arizona State, Jordan Tyson. And again, in studying Tyson, it made me boost Sam Levitt up in the quarterback rankings as well. Jordan Tyson's a dynamic guy. Last year, 75 catches, 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, 14.7 yards per catch. After those two guys, it's going to be interesting to see who rises and who drops, right? Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. I love Elijah Surratt out of Indiana, who was at JMU before that. There's two USC guys, Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane. Washington has a big fella, Denzel Boston, 6'4", 209 there. And then another big guy to watch. Right now he's not super high on my list, but Nick Harbor out of South Carolina, 6'5", 236, getting DK Metcalf comparisons as well. So keep an eye on him. Tight ends, not a whole lot to talk about in the first round. Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt. And then I also like Max Clare. He's at Ohio State this year, comes over from Purdue. Keep an eye out on him. He could develop into a first-round tight end before it's all said and done. Defensive line, I really like Zane Durant out of Penn State. I have him over Peter Woods. Peter Woods is like the Clemson guy that a lot of people have as one of the top picks in the draft next season. I like Peter Woods, but not as much as I like Zane Durant out of Penn State. There's also Tim Keenan at Alabama this year. And Dante Corleone from Cincinnati is a really intriguing prospect to watch this season. Could be a first-round pick next year as well. I mentioned TJ Parker being my top player on the draft board. Danny Dennis Sutton out of Penn State's another edge rusher. And I really, really like Mikhail Kamara from Indiana. 6'1", 265 edge rusher. He's number 3 on my edge board right now. Keldrick Folk from Auburn's getting a lot of talk. And then Mateo Ugalele from Oregon, another guy to watch there as well. Linebackers aren't super sexy this year. Harold Perkins returns to LSU, should have a really good season. Injured last year after 2 really good seasons in 22 and 23. So we'll see if he can elevate back up to the top. Anthony Hill from Texas, a guy to watch there. Cornerbacks, I love 2 of them. Jermod McCoy from Tennessee and Avian Terrell from Clemson are the 2 guys to really pay attention to there. And then Caleb Downs, clear-cut number 1 safety coming into the season. First-round safety for sure. Dylan Thieneman from Oregon, playing at Oregon after coming over from Purdue, is another guy to watch. I'm not sure that he's going to sneak into the first round. He's probably more of a second-day draft pick, second or third-round draft pick. But I've got him as my clear-cut number 2 safety on the board for next year. Of course, we didn't talk about Arch Manning. I don't put him in these 2026 draft rankings because everything points to him coming back next season in college. So if that changes, we will add him to the board for sure. And he'll probably be at number 1 if he enters in, because that means he had quite the year. So watch about that as well. We'll keep you updated. We're going to be covering this draft all year long. Throughout the college football season, my board will be changing, and we'll be discussing it here on this show. If you like this flavor of sports talk, we hope that you'll come back. But you know what else you need to check out is a flavor of beef jerky. And that's right. Go check out Righteous Felon Jerky at righteousfelon.com. And the bootleg and barbecue is a flavor you will not regret purchasing. They have several great flavors. Their jerky is so tender and very flavorful. You will no doubt love it. Righteousfelon.com. If you use the promo code STOVE15, that's STOVE15, you're going to get 15% off your purchase. Next week, we come back and we are working on the AFC North next week. It is going to be a blast going through the Steelers, the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Browns. And by the way, Browns come out with a brown helmet. Isn't that a surprise? So that's exciting too. Plenty of things going on. Camp, everyone's reported. Lots of things happening. Justin Fields, early in the day, I was like, oh my goodness, is Fields out for the year? And then it ended up being just a toe injury. He's fine. He'll be back in no time. There's a lot of things going on, though. A lot of things happening with camp reporting. Still trying to get these second-round draft picks all signed. All that good stuff. We'll cover more of that next week in the episode covering the AFC North. And I sure hope that you'll be here for it. And hopefully by next week, Dad will be ready to be back with us as well. And we'll be excited about that. If you're looking for more content to tune into, check out the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel. Every Sunday, you can find myself and Kevin Wilson talking fantasy baseball. We are 6 weeks away from the fantasy baseball playoffs. So tune into the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show every Sunday. And every Tuesday, the Belly Up Fantasy Live Football Show. Myself, Kevin Wilson, and Brian Germanaro are on there. This week, we're talking tight ends. We've got some other things to discuss as well. So make sure you tune into that. And then next Thursday, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. We'll be right back here on the Sports Stove Football Show to talk the AFC North. Follow us on social media at Sports Stove. That's Twitter and Instagram. And again, check out our sponsors, Righteous Felon Jerky at righteousfelon.com. Promo code STOVE15. Thank you for tuning into this edition of the Sports Stove Football Show. Until next time, we'll see you around the Sports Stove.